Hi there, and welcome to another Pi Crowdcast. I'm Rick Tarosi, co-founder and general manager of Pi. I'm here to answer all your questions about Pi or startup accelerators, or if you've had a chance to look through the application, answer any of your questions I can there. Today, we'll not only be here live on Crowdcast, but we'll also be available on YouTube if you're watching the stream along there. If you have questions and you're on YouTube, pop on over to Crowdcast, which is just crowdcast.io/PIPDX, PIE, PDX, and that will allow you to ask questions as part of this this Q&A session. But glad to have you watching on either format that you're on. If you happen to be here in Crowdcast and it's your first time here, little housekeeping, chat is over there. Feel free to introduce yourself, chat amongst yourselves. The chat usually goes off the rails at some point, which is entertaining to read later. I can't pay attention to it now in real time, but if you want to chat over there, please feel free. The other most important part of this, given that it is a Q&A session, is right down at the bottom of your screen. You'll see an Ask a Question button. Currently, it has 3 questions in the queue. You'll see that highlighted 3. You can ask a question at any time during the Crowdcast by posting your question in there. And even if you don't have a question, take a second to go through there, take a look. You're allowed to we're allowing you. You can upvote any question you want so that we can focus on the stuff that's most important to you. Now, the last Q&A session we did went nearly 90 minutes. I don't expect this one to go that long, but if you have to bail at some point, this whole thing is recorded and will be available right at this same link that you use to access the event. The other nice thing about Crowdcast is that question queue I was describing down there. After the event is over, you can jump to any of those questions in the live stream. So if you think like I didn't really get his response to that, I want to go back and review it, you'll be able to do that after the event concludes and jump to those questions. And then we will also make sure to post this video to the cheat sheet. If you haven't had a chance to look at our cheat sheet, we like to make it as easy as possible to apply for Pi. We realize you're busy, you're a founder, you have a lot of things to do. No need to make you do extra busy work. So we give you a cheat sheet that kind of gives you all the ins and outs of the application, so you know what you're getting yourself into before you start, and you can kind of, draft up some of your questions or some of your responses to our questions, and makes filling out the application that much easier. But we also have a bunch of Q&A there. Other ways you can get a hold of us: we have a public Discord if you want to jump on there and ask questions. Suffice it to say, we have a lot of ways to get a hold of us, and we just want to make sure that you're comfortable with the program and the application before you take the time to submit an application. So thank you, everyone. Looks like folks are rolling in. Hey, everybody. And again, feel free to add your startup, share your LinkedIn, whatever you want to do there in chat. That's really for you to talk amongst yourselves. Why don't we give it just a couple more minutes to let people put questions in? I'll provide the general context of Pi in case you just showed up wondering what the heck Pi is. Pi, at its very most basic, is this ongoing experiment to figure out how established organizations like corporations or government entities or educational institutions can collaborate with startups for mutual benefit. And that's really the key to us, is that mutual benefit. We want our partners to get something out of it, and we want the startups to get something out of it. Sometimes that's mentorship, sometimes that's access to office space or services or software, but whatever the case, we want to ensure that both parties are getting something out of it. Pi currently works in 3 specific verticals. So easiest way to think about it is if you're working on a product, we can probably help you. We don't really work with services-based companies or kind of Main Street retail kind of companies, but we do work with companies that are building products with the hopes of selling those products nationally or ideally internationally. But we would love to help all of you become global companies with the products you're building. So our specific classes are class for software or SaaS or mobile kind of products. Our partnership with Autodesk, which is focused on manufactured objects like hardware or connected devices. And then finally, our partnership with Built Oregon is a consumer products accelerator. So if you're working on food or beverage, if you're working on beauty or apparel, that's a great program for folks working in that space. So it looks like we've got 4 questions in the queue. Again, feel free to add questions at any time, and also feel free to jump down there and upvote the questions that are important to you. I will go ahead and start at the top. So first question, hi Pi team. What is your view on regional applicants? We're down in Salem, Oregon, and will not be able to make it to Portland every day. What are the options? Thanks, Ben. Good question. The good news for you is Pi is completely virtual again this year. We tend to be a residential program where our startups share office space while they're going through the program. But due to the pandemic and out of just an overabundance of safety and precaution for the founders we're working with, we will remain a virtual program for the foreseeable future. So Salem's great. Pacific time zone is great. Even the US can be, you can participate virtually and get, the mentorship and programming that we provide for the program. You may experience some challenges if you're trying to participate in the program from Europe or Asia, but we are open to that as well. So if you're willing to work with us on the time zones and the time that the programming occurs, we're more than willing to work with you. So please take the chance to apply, but there's no need to be in Portland, Oregon. With the other issue we run into sometimes is we cannot help with visa or visa stuff. So if you're an international company, sometimes it's challenging to get to the US on a visa to go through our program. But because we're virtual, you're more than welcome to participate in the virtual program. So hopefully that helps, Ben. And ideally, at some point, the pandemic will be over and we'll get everybody together in person. But if we begin the program virtually, we're just going to continue it virtually. We don't need to disrupt your workflow or how you've organized your schedule for the class. We'll just keep it virtual the whole time, but may figure out some ways to connect with one another in person. Okay, question number 2. Is Pi only for founders or businesses located in Portland, or is there a remote option? Again, kind of touched on that, but ideally it is for businesses who find some benefit of engaging with Portland in some way. So you don't have to be in Portland, but if Portland has unique aspects to it that could be beneficial to your company, then it's a great place to test drive your company. So for example, if you're working on a product that you believe has the potential to succeed in metropolitan areas and you would like a small urban metropolitan area to test drive that concept, Pi can be a great place to do that with our network here locally. If you're working on a consumer product, as my co-founder at Built likes to say, Oregon is the Silicon Valley of consumer products. So if you're working on a consumer product, we have a wealth of knowledge and a whole group of mentors with tons of experience in consumer products. So it could be a great place to test out your product here. But we accept founders and businesses from anywhere again, so please feel free to apply. Okay. Next question, and thank you for submitting these. Please feel free to keep sending them in, and I will keep track of them as best I can. Okay, does PiShop, which is our program with Autodesk that's focused on manufactured objects, does PiShop help people who have a concept and a basic design to prototype, refine the idea, and find manufacturing partners, specifically for projects where the prototype doesn't exist because of lack of access to 3D printers? Great question, John. I see Miguel, who's our shop manager at Pi, has already chimed in there with a comment. So let me see if I can get it close to Miguel's comment, since he's way smarter on this stuff than I am. But the quick answer to that is yes. I think for Pi Shop, our ideal company, again, ideal, is someone or a team that has kind of started to prototype a product, maybe has, you know, a Raspberry Pi or a breadboard level prototype, and are starting to think about how the housing might look around that prototype. But we're happy to work with companies who are still working through prototype issues. We've had companies doing that in the space. And I think our timeline is to get you to design for manufacturing. So that's the only thing to be thinking about there, which is if you're way earlier in a prototype, we may be pushing a little more to get you into that design for manufacturing kind of area. But please, especially if you need something 3D printed, we have access to a small desktop manufacturing facility that has 3D printers, a laser cutter, soldering station. You know, it's been a couple years since I've been in there, but there's a CNC machine in there as well. So if you need that level of manufacturing, not only do we have the capacity to help you with that, but Miguel is an absolute genius, our shop manager, and he loves helping people think through these situations. What's more, our partnership with Autodesk, their software loves thinking through those kind of situations as well. So if you're doing something with a printed circuit board in it, we have solutions that allow you to work with both the printed circuit board and the housing simultaneously through an Eagle and Fusion 360 combination. Or if you're just kind of working through a physical object, the Fusion 360 team is largely in Portland. So we have a direct access to the people who are not only working on that software, but can help you with some of the designs of your product. So yeah, let that car go by. The short answer is yes, absolutely. And we really enjoy those kind of projects. And yes, please apply, because I need to keep Miguel busy. If he gets bored, I may lose him. So please apply. Thank you. All right. Next question. See, Miguel even said in chat, he loves doing this stuff. Give him something to do. Apply with your startup. Does Pi provide assistance for obtaining introductions to various industry associations? Great question, Russell. We work closely with, obviously, we work closely with Autodesk and Built Oregon, but we also have partners throughout not only Portland, but throughout the state. So if there are other industry organizations, most immediately, you know, Technology Association of Oregon, it quickly jumps to mind. We work with them on a regular basis. Oregon Entrepreneurs Network, but also organizations like the Central East Side Industrial Council, which is a professional organization designed to support the region of Portland that Autodesk sits in, and is classically an industrial area in Portland. So organizations like that are looking out for the best interests of manufacturing and those sorts of things. But we also have, you know, a wide variety of not only connections, but mentors who participate in those organizations as well. So I think the easiest answer to that question is Pi is designed to meet you where you are as a founder, and where you are with your company, and to help you achieve the milestones you want to achieve as rapidly as we possibly can. So even if we don't happen to be already doing the kind of work you need us to do, we really appreciate it when founders kind of push our organization forward and force us to go out and learn new things or interact with new organizations or new people. That's always valuable for our organization as well. So we encourage you to challenge us in that regard. If we don't have access, currently have a partnership or access to a professional organization that you need access to, we will figure out a way to make that connection. So hopefully that answers that question. Okay. How is it possible that submitting a deck one sheet is considered equal to submitting a full application, which also includes a deck? First off, I don't think the full application includes a deck. If it does, then that's a mistake in our form, and I will go double check that. You shouldn't have to be submitting a deck and an application. The deck and the application parallel is because a lot of the founders with whom we work on a regular basis already have a pitch deck or a one pager, and it covers things like who are they, what's the product they're building or company they're building, what's the team helping them build that product, what are the potential for growth for that company, and the usual aspects of a pitch deck. Those are exactly the same questions that we ask in the application. The reason we have the written application is often we encounter founders who are not quite to the pitch deck point. They have all of that detail or can find all of that detail, but they haven't composed it in a deck or a one pager. So rather than ask the folks who already have a deck to extract all that information and put it in a written application, which seems like work that a founder shouldn't have to take the time to do, or rather than force somebody who hasn't yet created a pitch deck to try and create a pitch deck on the fly, we provide the written application. So from our perspective, any information that is missing from either the pitch deck or the written application, if we believe it's a promising company that we want to move forward with, the second part of the application period is us coming to you with additional questions that may not have been covered by your deck or by the written application. So don't think the thing that closes on March 14th is only step one. So we will analyze all that stuff, all your decks or one pagers, all your written applications. We'll go through all that kind of stuff. We'll pick our favorites. The committee will pick our favorites out of that group. And then if there are any additional questions, we'll come back to you with an email. You can respond to it at your leisure. We're not going to put pressure on you to get that done or make that a quick turnaround. And then once we feel like we have our best picture of what you're building and your team and all that kind of thing, then we'll make the decision as to whether you move into the face-to-face interview portion of our program. And that's the time where we'll get you, some folks from Pi, your team ideally on a Zoom call, and we'll kind of talk through remaining questions that we have and that you might have. And then using all of that stuff, the pitch deck or the written application, the follow-up questions, and the face-to-face interview, we'll make our final decisions on who we'd like to invite into the program. Once we all kind of provide our feedback and our kind of rankings for folks, we will start at the top of the list and start working our way down, inviting people into the program. Sometimes things have changed for startups. So we've encountered situations where our number one startup has said, when we applied, this seemed like the right thing, but now timing's not good, so we're not going to be able to participate. Or we've had companies that have said, hey, look, I applied to 5 different accelerator programs all at the same time, and we got into a different one that we're going to choose to participate in. So Pi's not an option for us. If those situations happen, we just can continue going down the list with our favorites, so that we're not wasting a spot for a promising company that has time to participate in Pi. So hopefully that helps. Next question. And thank you so much for continuing to send these in. Can you talk about the timeline of the program? Applications close by March 14th. When does the program start and how long does it run? Great question, Candace. Thanks for sending that in. If you look at the Pi blog, which exists at blog.pipdx.com, or also is available on Medium, we cross-publish there. We have provided a list of important dates for the program. So that will provide additional detail on what I'm going to describe here if you want to jump to that post. But just to lay it out, applications close on the 14th. It takes us a good 4 to 6 weeks to come to a decision on who we'd like to invite in to the program. So there's a lengthy bit of time there, reviewing each and every application, doing the follow-ups, doing the face-to-face interviews with folks, which tend to last 30 to 60 minutes per team. We want to spend time with the folks, not only the information folks have provided, but with the people who are building the company. So we do take some time to do that. So by mid-April-ish, we should be, nearing in-person interviews. I think we said we'd try and start those by the beginning of April. So if you haven't been signed up for an in-person interview or haven't heard from us by mid-April, please reach out and let us know. And then ideally we have folks selected and notified in a early May timeframe, with the hopes of starting the program mid-May or early June, depending on participant schedules. Sometimes we are ready to start, but there are other things happening in people's lives and they're not able to start when we would like to start. We will adjust our schedules for the founders to ensure that we can have the most robust accelerator team, because it's important with all the peers getting to collaborate with one another, and we don't want someone feeling like they're coming to class late after class has already started. So with that in mind, ideally June, everybody's in the program and settled in, and the program will run through October 12th, which is demo day. So about 4-ish months of mentorship and acceleration, and then pitch practice and all that kind of stuff. And then after demo day, we will spend another month or so with you and your team. The things that change is the programming part of the experience kind of goes away. So there aren't like week to week meetings or mentors coming in all the time. But what we use that next month to 6 weeks to do is really help transition you out of the program. So we're not just like kicking you out of the nest and saying good luck. We are, trying to help you transition into whatever that next experience is. So for some people, they're ready to go and they're going to go get an office at a co-working space or in a building and get going. For other people, that means kind of hitting the ground on fundraising or those kind of things. Still others will choose to go into a Techstars or a Y Combinator to kind of do that next stage of work on their pitch and fundraising. So whatever it is, we want to ensure we're providing a smooth transition there and we're not just dropping you off. So all told, you can expect to be engaged with Pi from somewhere mid-May-ish through likely early November. And that will be the length of the engagement. So hopefully that answers that question, Candace. Okay. We are a local food delivery app called Slurpalicious, currently operating in Astoria. And for folks who aren't familiar with Oregon geography, Astoria is slightly north of Portland as you're going toward the coast on Highway 30. So a bit a ways from Portland, but still kind of in our region. Operating in Astoria, we are planning to launch in Portland. Are we a good fit for Pi? Great question, Akshay. This touches on kind of what I was describing earlier, where no matter where you're located in the world, if launching in Portland could be beneficial to your company, Pi could be a great fit for you. We had one company a couple classes back relocate from India because the ethos and kind of the ethos of Pi and the culture of Portland were really meaningful to the product they were building, and they wanted to kind of test things here to see how viable that product would be. So given that you're in Astoria, you know, and we're running it virtually, we can totally help you test things here in Portland, or we can test things in Astoria too. Don't feel like you're obligated to do something in Portland. If you want to do something closer to home, that's also an option. So we can help you figure that stuff out. Food delivery apps could be super interesting. I think a lot of us have had the opportunity to test more food delivery apps than we care to over the past 2 years. So that could be a really interesting opportunity to explore how you're approaching that problem with your solution. And I'm super interested to see how that works in a smaller urban environment like Astoria. So yeah, are you a good fit for Pi? Absolutely. And we'll be more than happy to help you launch in Portland. So I'll look forward to your application. Sorry, my voice is shot. I should quit doing these at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. All right, next question. Hi, Pi team. Does the program provide funding? Quick answer, no. Back in the day, when we first started Pi, we did used to invest in companies and take an equity position in those companies. After doing that for about 4 classes, we decided that, being perfectly honest, we were mediocre investors. Like that wasn't what we were doing day in and day out. And we weren't providing the benefit that usually comes alongside of receiving that capital. And that's the investors who help you and work with you after they put money into your company. So we decided to leave the capital and investment to the people who are expert at that, and we would remain focused on the accelerator program and helping startups and providing mentorship, which is what we're expert at. So Pi does not currently provide funding for folks. We don't charge anything either, so you're not giving up any equity, you're not paying tuition. As far as you're concerned, it's all free and clear. If pursuing funding is something you're going to need to do to build your business, which is completely understandable, we do have ways of helping you along that way, regardless of which path you choose. So some of our companies will take more of the SBIR grant funding route, which is non-dilutive and enables them to retain the equity in their company. Others are building venture fundable solutions. And so we have a network of early stage investors who not only are interested in the types of companies that are coming through Pi, but are also great mentors for helping you understand how venture capital works and the dynamics of that industry. So while we don't provide funding, we do provide access to a network of people who provide funding. So hopefully that answers your question. Yeah, I guess it does, because you said, or help connect with investors. So yes, we do definitely help with that. I think the other important point here is we don't see pursuing venture capital as a prerequisite for going through our accelerator program. In fact, only a small percentage of our companies wind up pursuing equity-based financing. We are more interested in helping you determine what the appropriate path is for your company. And so if you're a venture fundable company, we will definitely help push you down that path. But if you're not, we also have other options to kind of help accelerate your growth and generate the revenue or capital you need to build the business you want to build. So hopefully that answers that, John. Still questions still rolling in. Thank you, folks. Appreciate it. Oh, and stuff's jiggering around. Let me answer this one from Andrea. Can Pi assist with helping us establish an outsource for inventory, storage, tracking, and shipment? We have an online personal use product in the beauty industry located in Portland. Thank you for the question. I will admit we have not specifically done that, but I would be shocked if we didn't have, a number of mentors who have a ton of experience with that, and companies who've been through our program who have experience with that. So does Pi the organization directly help with that? No, but our mentor group and the connections we have in the community can definitely help you think through that. There may even be some partnerships available with either Pi alums who've been through the program or mentors who have access to those kind of spaces. Like a good example is the Red here in Portland, which is a project with EcoTrust that is a warehousing and distribution point in the central east side, and we're good friends with the folks at the Red and Beeline that helps facilitate some of that stuff. So that would immediately be one of those that's like, you should probably go talk to our mentor from Beeline, and they can help you start thinking through what a good solution might be for that. So do we expressly have those programs in place? No. Can we help with that kind of stuff? Absolutely. And our mentors have plenty of experience in that regard. So hopefully that answers that question. Okay, next question from Jason. I know Built, Oregon, and Pi work together. Is their accelerator program separate? No, the fact of the matter is Pi and Built are actually the same organization. Like Built is kind of the parent company of Pi. Pi focuses on Portlandy kind of stuff. Built focuses on Oregon writ large and specifically on consumer products. So the messaging is a little confusing, and I apologize for that. To give people just a quick backstory, what happened was Mitch and I had this concept for a consumer products accelerator. Built was really the known brand in the consumer product space. And so the beta test of that accelerator was called the Built Accelerator. Once we tested it and we knew that there was not only a ton of potential in the community and some amazing consumer products companies, but also just a bunch of mentors who are interested in getting engaged, we formalized the beta test by making it Pi Consumer. So all of the Built mentors are accessible to Pi Consumer. All of the Pi mentors are accessible to Pi Consumer. The program is one and the same. We have just formalized it as a Pi program so that from a Built perspective, Pi is dealing with all the accelerator stuff and Built is doing the other work. So hopefully that answers that question. And the other nice thing about the Pi Consumer Accelerator Program is Mitch Doherty, who is just a wealth of knowledge and connections within the state, helps run that part of the program. So you gain access to someone who is easily one of the most well-networked people in consumer products in the state, if not in the Pacific Northwest. So that's another benefit of that program, and I'm humbled and honored to get the chance to work with him on supporting consumer product companies. He and I, another backstory, like probably like 10, 12 years ago, he and I used to really butt heads because he loved consumer products and I loved tech. And I'd be like, no, we should be doing tech startups. He's like, we should be doing consumer products. And eventually he kind of won me over with his way of thinking. So it's not begrudgingly. Like, I love working with the consumer products companies. It's just he knows way more about that stuff than I do. So I support him in the Built Accelerator from the Pi programmatic elements. So back to the question, one and the same, apply for Pi Consumer and all of Built comes along with it. Okay, this is a great one. I love this one. If I haven't added it to the FAQs, I should. What is the time commitment of Pi, and what do you aim for as an outcome for participation? So let's touch on time commitment first. I always say the average time commitment is 4 to 6 hours per week. And let me kind of break out where you're spending those 4 to 6 hours. So ideally, you're meeting once a week with Pi staff for a one-on-one. That's where we go through the like, what's going on this week? What are you struggling with? How can we be helpful? You coming out of that meeting will generally get a mentor introduction or 3 or 5. And so you need some time during the week to set up those mentor meetings. And that's where part of that time goes. We usually have 1 or 2 speakers or mentors show up per week. So you'll have another half hour, an hour that may be sitting in a presentation or a fireside chat, or may be taken by you getting office hours with one of Pi's mentors to kind of work through some of your challenges or just get the chance to meet people in the community. So that probably takes up, where am I, like 4-ish hours of time. And then one of the most critical components of our program from our perspective, and one that we see as, while we don't absolutely require anything, like this is the absolute most important thing that occurs week to week, is a part of the program we call family dinner. And family dinner is really designed for you to sit down with the other companies that are going through the program and just share how you're doing. Like, how's the business going? Are there issues you could use help with? Are there areas you'd like to help other startups with? And really just get that peer-to-peer mentoring going. And not only that, but that trust network where you no longer feel like you're absolutely alone as a founder, but you have a group of people who are working towards similar ends that you can trust to not only provide good advice to you, but just also that they're there if you need them. So that's the bulk of the program. About the last 6 weeks, that commitment transitions into pitch practice. So we'll start to ramp down the kind of programmatic elements like the mentor meetings or the presentations, and we will go full into pitch practice. So those 4 to 6 hours remain the commitment. They're just spent in a different way. And then approaching demo day, should you choose to participate and we believe that you're on track to present a compelling story on stage at demo day or virtually at demo day, then that last week or so, time commitment probably ramps up closer to like 10 to 12 hours for that last week, because you're going to be doing a lot of repetition on your pitch and those kind of things. So 4 to 6 hours a week on average, and then kind of at the end it gets really intensive for about a week there, in terms of time commitment. What do you aim for as an outcome of participation? One is the ability to tell your story on stage in front of an audience, or to record your presentation so that we can show it to an audience, and to have a deck or another asset that is part of that storytelling. So can you tell your story on stage? That's one of the outcomes we would like to achieve. And then for a lot of the companies, it's, were you able to put product in market? And by putting product in market, we don't necessarily mean you're generating revenue. We don't mean that it's been launched to the public. It just means that you've been able to get a product into users' hands that aren't your immediate friends and family, and you're starting to get that feedback on the product that are going to help you develop it going forward. So those are the 2 things that Pi is really interested in. Everything else in terms of outcomes are defined by you and us. So it's that we will sit down at the beginning of the class and work with you on what you would like to achieve during the program. For some folks, that's, I want to be prepared to start fundraising on demo day. For others, it's, I want my product launch to be amazing and I need help doing that. How do I do that? Still other folks are, I've got a grant application and I want help getting that grant to where it needs to be and submitted before the end of the class. Some folks, it's hiring, they need talent or they need advisors, and those are outcomes and objectives they want to focus on. Regardless of what it is, think of Pi as an independent study, in that we want to work with you on a company by company basis, sometimes on a founder by founder basis, to help you achieve the outcomes you're looking to achieve faster than you would be able to do it on your own. And that's really all it is. We don't place a lot of kind of predefined outcomes on the companies we work with. We really want to be propelling you forward in the way that you want to go and down the path you want to go. So hopefully that helps answer that one. Oh, wait, saw a comment pop up there. So how do we define success? It was another part of that question that I just saw. So great question. I think Pi, when we started, there were a handful of accelerators. These days there are thousands, and so Pi is judged by the companies who have been through the program, the amount of capital they've raised, how big they've grown, the number of acquisitions. And so we're kind of beholden to those industry metrics, and we pay attention to those and track those kind of things. But the things we really focus on as outcomes for our program and for Pi, like what about Pi is important to Pi in terms of outcome? First and foremost, number of mentor connections to startups. Are we improving the network for startups going through our program and the broader network of our community? The Pi community is only as strong as the weakest link in that community. And the more we can strengthen those connection points for folks, the stronger program we deliver. So mentor connections, first and foremost, super important to us. Number of companies that either find ways to collaborate with one another or find ways to collaborate with our partners in new and different ways, that's a huge win for us. So like, for example, we had a company come through our program a couple years back called Year One that very much focused on established organizations like some of our partners. And so we wound up having the opportunity to work with Year One and our partners to get our partners using Year One as a product. That's a win to me. Does that get the same, press and accolades that raising a multi-million-dollar funding round do? No, but it has far more impact on the company by generating customers and generating revenue. So that's important to us. And then finally, the other metric I always like to track is how many companies did we help either stop doing something wrong or stop going down the wrong path, or how many folks did we get to a point where they realized that pursuing the idea was either not well timed or not something that they wanted to do. And while that sounds kind of like negative and cynical, you have to understand that the vast majority of startups fail. And if we, through our program, can help somebody fail faster, or we can help somebody realize that being a founder is not all it's cracked up to be, in their opinion, and can do that more expediently than they would be able to do that on their own, that's a win, because we're saving them time and money and emotional heartache and any other number of things by helping them come to that decision point more quickly. Just as important, we have now, through that process, we now have a person who makes an incredible early stage startup employee because they have a great understanding of what it takes to build a company and how hard it is, and understands what another founder is going through. So there's a very positive outcome of companies failing in the PI program. And so we don't see failing as a negative. We just see it as another way of positively impacting the people we work with. So hopefully that answers that question. Sorry, I missed the comment there earlier. Oh, this is a good one. Can a company join both Pi Consumer with a current product and Pi Shop for future product development at the same time? Yes, that would be really cool. I would love to see that. We always like the folks who like are figuring out new ways to leverage Pi as a platform to build the types of companies they want to build. So yes, but the simplification is, if you've applied to Pi over the past 2 or 3 years, one of the first questions used to be like, what program are you applying for? And when it came right down to it, it didn't matter which program you thought you were applying for. It really came down to like, where did Pi think you would get the most benefit? Like, which of those verticals would serve you best during the, given your stage, given what you're currently focused on. So you don't even have to worry about that distinction. Just apply, and we will help you figure out, if you're selected for the program, we'll help you figure out where you best fit day to day, but we'll also help you by introducing you to the other program too. Like, it's not, don't think of Pi as, well, I got into Pi Shop, so I can never talk to anybody in Pi Consumer or Pi. We're running separate paths. There's a lot of cross-pollination that goes on. The reason we break it up is because it gives you kind of a cohort of like-minded peers who are struggling with similar problems or opportunities. But we bring the Pi groups together in a variety of ways. So please just apply, because that sounds super interesting. And I'm really curious about what you're describing being in both of those spaces, and would really like to hear more about the concept. But don't worry about which program you're trying to get into. If you're a promising founder or a promising founding team with a product idea that's intriguing, we'll help figure out which program you should be participating in. That's part of our job. Okay. Thanks again, everybody, for submitting questions and destroying my voice. How sophisticated does a founder have to be regarding financial projections, or is that expertise available, including coaching for that? Yes. Yes, yes, the coaching is available. So we don't expect anybody to be like really well versed in financial projections or wrangling spreadsheets or any of that kind of stuff. That's part of the work we help you with. Now, from time to time, you will get founders who are very good at that, but they're lacking in other skill sets that we will help with. So we don't really look for founders to have like any particular expertise, with the exception of this. If you're proposing a highly technical, hard technology, or kind of scientific kind of pursuit, and you have no expertise in that regard, it's highly unlikely we will select you for that, because you need subject matter expertise to be successful in that regard. But on the converse, if you have a concept that, it doesn't have a lot of technical hurdles, you are comfortable like cobbling something together in low code or no code tools, and people still perceive it as a tech company, we will absolutely work with companies like that, and we have in the past. We understand that not all tech companies are created equal. There's a vast spectrum of tech companies. And for some, you need technical acumen. For others, off the shelf stuff can get you a really long ways these days. So we don't expect a ton of sophistication. We have plenty of people who have been mentors on the financial projection side. And we even do some like whole cohort kind of activities around that, because it's an important skill for everyone to have. And sometimes looking at someone else's projections or pro forma can help you figure out ways to do yours differently. And I think the place that comes into sharp relief is pricing. Pricing is super hard. No one does pricing right, and pricing directly affects your financial projections. So pricing can be a really interesting conversation point for you and your peers as you're going through the program, and an interesting place to test things that then plays into your financial projections. So hopefully that answers that question. If you have a well-rounded team with all these skill sets, that's great, but you are under no obligation to have all these skill sets figured out before you apply. That's what we're here for. Okay, and the final question, unless people submit any more, and we may get out of here in under an hour, but we're doing other sessions. In case you didn't see, like, look at our meetup group, and we've got on a variety of platforms like an Instagram Live. I mentioned our Discord server. If you look at the cheat sheet, there's an invite to our Discord server there. You can pop in there and ask us questions anytime. We're doing like a LinkedIn Live and a couple other things. If folks feel like we need another Crowdcast Q&A session, we're always happy to do that. Yeah, so there's still other resources available if questions pop up or you think of something, or if you just want to attend and see what questions other people ask, you're more than welcome to do that. We just wanted to make sure we were accessible on a wide variety of platforms so that you felt like you had access to us. And then we will continue to improve upon that cheat sheet throughout the application period. So even if you looked at the cheat sheet once, make sure and keep coming back there, because we'll continue to build out frequently asked questions and other assets like this recording that may be valuable to you as you're working your way through the application process. Okay, so final question is, can you give me an example of a spectacular failure as asked on the app? So what we're looking for is a couple things with that question. One of them is just your willingness to be transparent with us about something that didn't go as expected. Like, I realize, having tried to be a founder, that you're forced into keeping up this veneer all the time about, oh, things are going great, and of course we'll make payroll, and customers love us, and blah, blah, blah. And so you get so in that mode that it gets really hard to kind of drop that pretense and be honest about what you're experiencing. So this question is really starting to kind of poke at that. Can you be open and transparent about something that didn't go